Okay, so today we have a Zelda edition Nintendo Switch Lite and an original, authentic Zelda Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. So I decided I would go ahead and do both of these today, kind of make a little Zelda project. So we'll do this second, but I want to go ahead and start with the Switch Lite. It's in pretty decent condition, but let me show you what it's doing right now. We'll start with the USB-C port. The two red that you see right there, that's normal for a Switch Lite, but everything else looks about right. So the USB-C port itself looks fine under the microscope. And I'll show you that real quick. So there doesn't seem to be any lifted pads or anything like that. It actually looks all right. Let me show you what happens when we plug it in. So it negotiates 15 volts, but I've actually let it charge for a bit, and it just kind of sticks at zero point 0.4. It'll go from 0.46 to around 0.48, but it'll never actually turn on. So we're gonna open it up and see if we can figure out what's going on with this guy. So with the power of YouTube, nice. So as far as I could tell, it looks like it hasn't been opened before, but right off the bat, I noticed some strange things. Okay, first off, let me get under the microscope and show you what I'm talking about. I say it hasn't been opened before, but something has definitely happened inside of here. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me go under the microscope. So right off, you notice right here at our connector, we have, not only is it lifted up, but we have some thermal paste here. And that's not even the most interesting part, because this is definitely not factory. Now, if you look up here, this doesn't look like it's been lifted. So this part hasn't been removed. But then you come over here and look at that. What is going on there? Don't know how you would even manage to do that. So it looks like the LCD connector has just been torn in half. I'm not sure what kind of damage we're looking at here. I hope there's nothing too bad going on with the actual LCD connector itself. Definitely an issue. So let's get this board out. Let's get this connector removed. Let's take a closer look at our daughter board ribbon connector over here. And we'll kind of go from there, because I'm certain when I plug it in, we've got some type of short going on right here. But let me finish breaking it down. Let me get this board out, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, let's take a look at our ribbon cable. Yeah, I don't think that we have much damage there. Let's turn our focus to this guy. That's kind of rough. Alright. Well, let's go ahead and get it removed. Okay. So I'm going to come from underneath with some hot air and see if we can't get those pieces of this connector off. See a slight bit of damage right here, but I don't think it's severed anything. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm still not quite understanding how that happened. But let's clean those pads up. So I'm a little curious now that we have that connector off, if this thing will actually, let's see if we have any shorts on the board with nothing attached. Let's see what our readings are. Okay, I'm not seeing any amp draw this way, which that's a good sign. Let's try it, flipping it around a little bit. No amp draw this way either. Now I'm also curious is if I plug a battery into this thing, will we actually get a reboot? So let's try that. Let's take this battery, let's plug it in. Just to see what happens. Let's plug it in. Look at that. You got a reboot. So I think this guy actually just turned on. But let's try it again, just to make sure. Just make sure that wasn't a fluke. And let's try it from this way this time. Definitely a reboot. So I think taking that connector off is fixed whatever short issue that we had. Okay. So let me take a connector off of a donor board that I've got here. This was a failed attempt at fixing a blue screen. I'm not going to add a lot of flux here, just a little bit. We don't want it sliding around too much, but I do want it to bond. Yeah, that should work, huh? Looks pretty good. Let's see what happens. Quite pleased with that. Okay, so I do want to give the board a good clean. I want to get this old thermal paste off of here. So I'm going to put this back in just enough to test. Okay, I think we're back together enough to test. So let's plug it in and see what happens. Oh, got our charging symbol. Beautiful. Okay, that's good enough for me. So we know the backlight's working. We know the charge circuit is working. So I'm going to go ahead and put this the rest of the way back together, just real quick. And once it's fully back together, we can plug it in, let it charge, and see if we can get it come on and do a few basic tests. Okay, let's plug it in. We're going to let it charge for a few minutes, and hopefully this guy will turn on. Then we'll give it a quick test, and then we are going to move on to the Zelda game. Okay, we are back, and looks like, yep. So we got 5%. Looks like we have definitely got a parental lock. That's no big deal. We'll cross that bridge later. So let's see if this will play a game. 6% should be good enough to do what we need to do. Game card could not be read. I'm wondering, now that I see this, now I know this is a working game. So let me try one more different game. Just a random game here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm starting to get an idea of what happened. So what I think is whoever had this before had the issue with the game card not reading. And they opened it up, and I'm assuming that they didn't know how to take it apart. So let's power this thing off. Let's take a little closer look at this game card reader. Let's get under the microscope. Yeah, that explains a lot, huh? Unless I miss my guess, I believe there's a hole in the bottom of this, and I'm starting to understand how they hit that connector. Wow. All right, let's put a new game card reader in it. And again, the power of YouTube. Nice. All right. So let's take a look at this. Wow. Check this out. Yeah. So right where the hole is on this thing, when whatever they were poking through here came through, it hit this connector. And that's what ended up damaging it. So that's why it was never actually fully taken apart. Which, now it makes sense. So let's replace it. Let's pop like 2 screws in it just to kind of hold it into place. And we'll check it real quick to see if it works. All right. Let's turn it on. And let's see if this one was going to work. And it does. Nice. Okay. Tells us what we need to know. That explains what happened to that connector. So, mystery solved. So let's turn it back off. I think it was Sherlock Holmes that once said, once you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Okay, so again, power of YouTube. I was really wondering how that damage happened. Like that's just with this thing not showing signs of having been fully taken apart. It was somewhat of a mystery of what exactly happened. How do you do that to a connector like that? But now it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, our buttons seem to work. Let's test the touch screen. Okay. Okay. All right. Control sticks seem to be good. All right. Now let's see if it'll go online. So, oh nice. So now that we've gone online, it would appear whoever had this unregistered their parental control app, so it automatically removed it. Sweet, that'll save me 50 cents. All right, so I'll let this thing charge and get it reset. Now we can move on to our N64 game. Okay, so we don't get any image on the TV. So let's take this thing apart. Let's take a look under the scope. It's pretty grimy, that's for sure. I'm looking real healthy, but I've seen worse. And I've seen better not work, so I wonder if we have any voltage in this battery. Let's check real quick. We do. Okay, 3.2. Yeah, let's start with the basics and give this thing a really good clean. Let's see if that actually makes a difference. Okay, let's see what it does. Still nothing. Nope, not even a black screen. Okay, let's jump under the scope here and let's double check that we're getting continuity where we need to be getting continuity. To be perfectly honest, those pads don't look all that great still, but they don't look all that awful either. Maybe not the most thorough of continuity checks, but for the time being, I'm going to use a little bit of 2500 grit sandpaper just to see if I can clean these pads up a little bit better. Right. Still nothing. Right. Okay, so I was really hoping we would get 2 out of 2, but it happens sometimes. I'm very happy I could at least get the Zelda Edition Switch Lite working. That's definitely a plus. I think what I need to do is a little bit of research because to be perfectly honest, I'm not real savvy with repairing the N64 games. This might be only the second or third one I've ever actually looked at. So I don't have any reference for what any of these pins should be reading, like in diode mode or anything like that. Uh, I'm not sure about these capacitors. I think what I need to do is pull up some data sheets on these chips, and maybe I can come back and revisit it. I actually have a Doom 64 in 64 cartridge that I've had a similar issue with, where everything looks good, but on the surface anyway. Reflowed everything, check continuity, all that stuff, and I still can't seem to get it to work. Uh, so, like I said, if any of you guys have any information on these Zelda carts or N64 carts in general, let me know. Drop it into the comment and give me a hand here. But I want to thank you for joining me today, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you again in my cave.